Hello there, my name is Deirdre Marriott, and this is my first person experience story that I have titled The Weird Girl. I'll be telling you a story about my self diagnosis of autism, and I will be just talking about the bits and pieces that led me to having an aha moment. So, I'm going to go ahead and begin. Sensitive child, overdramatic, cries easily, and imaginative were all words that all my teachers and adults would describe me, all throughout elementary school and middle school. I struggled socially and had a hard time making friends, so I was often playing by myself on the playground. I would have outbursts of excessive emotion anytime the fire alarm went off, or if we had to change seats because of a new seating chart, or any sort of thing that gave me anxiety whatsoever. This landed me with weekly sessions with the school counselor and even an outside therapist. Now, this was the late 90s and early 2000s. A lot of it just ended up boiling down to she watches too much TV. Monitor what she watches. That's all well and good, but those flags were still there. And I grew up in an environment that was a little chaotic and unsure of itself. So a lot of things like TV shows and video games kept me sane. And as a child, I had many hyperfixations, from specific video games like the Jumpstart series to TV shows from the early 2000s. And these seemed like pretty normal things that a kid could be obsessed with until I started talking about them with my peers. I'd get blank stares at best, or I'd get made fun of at worst. And it usually led to me being labeled the weird girl. That does something to your self-esteem when you're growing up, even if you're not realizing it. It led to an obsession with wanting to belong that I still struggle with today. It led to toxic friend groups that I clinged onto for years into high school, an unhealthy obsession with escaping through the internet, and low self-esteem. It's been many years since those friendships have been cut, but I still have socially awkward moments, from repeating my stories over and over again to talking about obsessions that no one else seems to understand. Again, still considered the weird girl, and I'm almost 30. One day in 2020, things kind of started making sense. I came across videos and different articles about autism during the pandemic. And, the first thing that flashed through my mind were people in high school that were autistic. And I just kept thinking to myself, nope, that's not me. I can't be autistic. That's not me at all. But the more I read and the more I saw, the more I started to see the red flags from my childhood pop up and all those memories flooding back in. Obviously, I wasn't a normal child, but I was forever trying to fit into a mold that wasn't for me. It's exhausting. There's something about it being explained to me, something about seeing the numbers and tests, like in the AQ tests that's available online. Something about those made sense to me. It's the possibility now that I am autistic and I just never knew it. But just always having to cope with it. Suddenly it's like seeing the world in a different light. A brighter, less uncertain light. And that's the story of those little red flags that led to my self-diagnosis with autism. I don't think I'll ever seek a professional diagnosis just because of the hassle it will bring and all the other things that go along with it. But self-diagnosis is still valid, and it helps me to understand the why behind who I am. Thank you very much for listening to my story.